Hi everyone, Swanky Markets with the weekly outlook for beginning Monday, the 27th of September. Like I said on Thursday night, it wasn't an easy week last week. It was hard to make pips. Well, certainly wasn't the worst week we've ever had, but it certainly wasn't the best. It was tough, really tough. So if you broke even last week, you did well. If you're new and you broke even, well done. Take your hat up. It was a tough week. Now, there are signs that we saw on Friday that the markets are starting to become a little bit more predictable that we anticipate, and maybe support and resistance levels are going to be respected a bit more this week. So we need to remember that, and I'm certainly going to be a bit more aggressive in my trading this week. And also remember, it's dollar weakness is causing a lot of this that's going on. It's not the currency pairs, it's not the strength, it's dollar weakness. Of course, the Aussie will be slightly different to that. This weekend we had new Labour Party leader in the UK. Labour, those who aren't living in Europe, Labour are the opposition party in the UK. Similar to America, you got the Republicans and the Democrats. In the UK, you got the main parties are Labour and the Conservatives. So there's a new Labour leader, and there's a bit of a hoo-ha over that. Some people think it should have been his brother David, but we'll have to see how the markets react. Um, Lots of euro and yen news out over the weekend as well. In the euro, the big news and the big talk in Ireland this weekend is basically that the IMF have pulled their boat into Dublin port and is waiting to disembark, basically, is what they're saying. Seriously. The figures for Anglo, they're not officially due out till the end of October, but there are going to be some figures, some more released this week on all this Anglo scenario. And of course, the Irish banks are in an awful situation. But the Irish government are very scared on how these figures will be accepted by the markets. If the markets do not like them, and then they send the euro, not only the euro, but the Irish index of shares south, then outside help will not be far away. So I would tread very carefully with the euro until we know more about this situation. Also, there's news out of the weekend that three German banks are in trouble. Um, so I was reading a very, very good article on the euro this morning on the Wall Street Journal. I'll put the link if you scroll back up into the Outlook introduction for today. I'll put the link there for that. A very good article on the euro and about the secret committee they set up and the whole thing that's going on there. So have a good read of that. Also, the Bank of Japan, the governor, Mr. Sharwa, I don't know if I can pronounce his name. I do apologize. Shawaka, said today the central bank is closely watching the effect of the economy on the yen's appreciation. And again, they've said they're prepared to take the appropriate action if needed, which we've heard before, and we know Friday morning that they probably stepped in as well and caused that spike. But he is speaking again tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. GMT. So watch that time. It could be very volatile on the yens as well. Okay. So let's start with what we're looking for the week and things like that. Well, this is the pound dollar, and we're very much in an uptrend. We've been looking to long this, and we were looking for a pullback to here, and it's just blew through this on Friday. This was when American opened, and we had David Pepper. Um, he had he made a statement on Friday about which I would agree with about the U.S. economy. Anybody who know he was a big hedge fund manager, made a lot of money in the crash and things like that, and he runs a big hedge fund in the States. He said on Friday that should quantitative easing not come in the second round that we're all expecting, then stocks are going to go up and gold and bonds should fall a bit. He said that if quantitative easing does come in, gold and bonds will go up and stocks will go up. So stocks will go up and whatever happens. And we believe that that is what sent the market soaring on Friday. That no matter what way, the stocks are both going to go up. So hence why the US indices went up. People bought more risk. Didn't buy the dollar. Dollar got weaker. Pound got stronger. A lot of pairs. That's what happened on Friday afternoon. So if we look at this, if we go to the weekly, on the pound. Let me blow this up here. You can see the bigger picture of the weekly on the pound. Let's blow this up. And we can see, whoops, actually, let's go back here. You can see where all these EMAs are, and you can see where it is getting into now. It's getting into now the 61.8, 159.31, we can see, if I put a trend line there, we can see the support and resistance here, right? All this resistance, sorry, support, and then it came up, was resistance, spiked through, next day back down it came again. This was the start of a week, I'd imagine. Um, Now we're going up to test it again, and we are hitting for 1.600, and we may be heading higher up to 167. I do anticipate we're going to hit 167 on this. This is getting very, very strong. It's very, very bullish. But the trick is, where do you get in? All right. On the weekly, 61.8 of the fib is the big line here. It's a big line in the sand. It closed above that, and you're going further north again. 61.8 of the fib is 59.31. If we go to the daily, all right, we had a clear break of the 57.20. We had a clear break of this area here. All right, 57.58 as well was a 365 on the daily. Clear break of it. So it's been major area support and resistance. If you go further back, you'll see that. So we're in a clear uptrend here. But how do we get in? Well, if we get a pullback to 57.20, it's the ideal area. Excuse me. Excuse me. If we get a pullback to 57.20, excuse me, ideal area here. Excuse me. I'd also at 57.58, but the way that this took out this here, I kind of, if I would need a big reason to long it here, I'd need a good candle pattern on 57.58, 57. This area here is where you're going to be looking to long it. All right, in this area there. But tomorrow I'd probably prefer the euro. Let's go on to the euro. Now, the euro made new highs last week. If we look at the weekly as well, made new highs last week. This is the weekly, and this is the 50 of the weekly fib, the 200 EMA, the 89 EMA on the weekly as well. It's broke through the monthly 55, and it broke through the weekly 55 on Friday. That both of them happened Friday. Just blew them away. So it made new highs last week, and it's clearly in a daily uptrend. But on the weekly, it's still in a downtrend. It's come up to 50% fib. Now, we've had 2 solid weeks of upward movement. Therefore, at least a pullback is to be expected. A little bit of a one to get us in. I'm not on about it's going to go all the way down here. We just might see price come back a little bit and then go all the way up again. But I'm going to talk about this pair for a little bit, so bear with me. All right. Now, I did say last week, you want to watch 13300 was the line in the sand. And then where did it pull back? 13300 is this black line here. Where did it pull back? And then it took off again. So I know a few of you got that, so well done. Now, you also need to pay attention to the order book. I mean, if you looked at the order book, you would see 13300. There was a lot of orders there. We can see the previous resistance, which should now be support. Go further back, 13300 is a big line in the sand. 13313 was the high before it fell away. So, obviously this is a big area. 13300, if we get a pullback today, is going to be big. Now, we've mixed trends on this pair too, right? Mr. Treshate, he's making 2 speeches tomorrow, right? The first is at London Open time. It's around 8 o'clock in the morning. The second one is at 2 p.m. GMT London time. All right, he's making a speech to the European Parliament, so you want to be very careful of that. That would be the bigger speech of the two. All right, but either could move the markets. All right. Now, there has been a lot of talk at the weekend, as I've said, that the 3 German regional banks are still in danger of failing. I've said about the Irish, the Anglo figures, the IMF are just waiting to step in Ireland. There was talk last week that the bond sale would have got Ireland out of a little bit, at least until the second quarter of 2011. That now is from the talk at the weekend, is not so sure. Those of you who want to know what bond is in yield, I'll put a link, I'll hunt something out on the net and put a link into the Outlook introduction so you can have a look at that and how that has all worked out or whatever. Basically, the government's selling debt and people bid on it and all this sort of thing, and the yield is the profit the investor makes, and it's all this sort of thing. So I'll put a link for you so you can learn about that a bit more. Now, if you look, we looked at the weekly chart, right, and you can see the price price on Friday bulldozed, alright? Remember, it's dollar weakness is doing this. It bulldozed its way through the weekly and the daily 55. It is now at the weekly 50 fib of 155.02, 135.02, and the weekly 289 EMA is at the same price. And it's also the psych number of 135. Now, Mr. Trichet's speeches, news on the German and the Irish banks, etc., is going to play a big part in this week, alright? Now, this could be a very fundamental week for this pair, and we're technical traders. So, wait until London Open and Mr. Trichet has spoken. Alright, we are in a clear daily uptrend, but price does not go up in a straight line, as I've told you before. So we need a bit of a pullback. Now my preferred area is 133.20. 133.18 here is the weekly 55 EMA. Just below that we got 133. This is my preferred area. I would love a pullback to this area to long. Alright, if we get a short tomorrow, I'll take the short. If news comes out that the IMF are pulling into Ireland and all this, and 3 German banks and all that, well, you're going to short this because it would just bulldoze its way through 133. That fundamental news will have no respect for technical trend lines. So you want to be careful on that. Now, this is a critical time for the euro. The euro is not